Spontaneous speaking video 76. All right, what's good, y'all? Today I'm here to talk about three concepts put into one. And I'm going to, pretty much the names of them are confirmation bias, self-fulfilling prophecies, and what's the third one again? Let me check. It's confirmation bias, self-fulfilling prophecies, and echo chambers. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because honestly, I see it a lot in our society. I see it a lot on Twitter, especially. And I even saw myself, falling into it. So I'm not excluding myself from this. I'm just trying to bring it more to our attention so that, we could all grow from it. We could all become aware. We could all, start trying to become better people from it. But pretty much I'll start by defining it. So a self-fulfilling prophecy is, they essentially are almost pretty much the same thing. And that's why I'm putting it all in one video. But a self-fulfilling prophecy is pretty much when you believe something, and it's almost like what I was saying in my law of attraction video. When you believe something, then it's like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, kind of like fixates things into your path to kind of confirm that bias. So then that's where you get that confirmation bias from. Confirmation bias is when you already believe something about someone or about a situation, and then now it's almost like your mind automatically just looks for facts to confirm that bias that you already have about that situation or about said person. And then lastly, echo chambers is pretty much when it's almost like, I think I could present this as an example. People who often fall victim to echo chambers are those who are not really looking for perspectives or for voices that dissent from the ones that they have. And this could even be people who are claiming that they are, but then they're not realizing that they're falling into an echo chamber. This can happen oftentimes with a leader, for example, maybe like a leader in a church or something, who's claiming that, I'm very open-minded and all that. And me saying this, like, I'm even trying to make sure that as I'm saying this, I'm not falling into some type of cognitive dissonance. And I'm making sure, just like I do with all of my other videos, that I'm not falling victim to what exactly I'm talking about. So just like what I said in my video, using other people as mirrors, when I see this behavior in other people, before I even come here to like say anything about it, I always make sure that I look into myself and try to make sure dang, am I exuding this disgusting, revolting behavior, And once again, that's just my opinion. But in my opinion, I find self-fulfilling prophecies when done badly, confirmation bias, and echo chamber is just so bad because it really inhibits you from being able to find the truth in many situations. It puts you in a lie. So then going back to me explaining that echo chamber thing, an echo chamber is pretty much like, when a leader is kind of like preaching to the choir, I guess, in a way, or the leader may believe something and is acting like they are looking for dissenting voices or dissenting opinions to things. But then in actuality, they're going to people who they already know will just further confirm what they believe or even encourage it. So it's really hard to explain it. But I guess one example could be like if I, for example, was looking for an echo chamber, or if I was like falling into an echo chamber either intentionally or unintentionally, I would come to you guys, my subscribers, and I would say things like, oh, woe is me. I'm just, I would kind of like make myself appear like a victim in some way to receive the validation from you guys to, kind of like encourage me to continue to be the way that I am or continue to do whatever I'm doing. And that's not always a bad thing, especially if I'm doing something good. It's good to receive encouragement, and it's good to receive boosting from other people. However, if you are indeed in the wrong, then it's bad because you're going to the wrong people to give you that type of validation. And so I think we're going to jump back to confirmation bias. So for example, if we're using a confirmation bias, we're gonna trail this. We're gonna string it together. So we're gonna start with confirmation bias. One example could be those types of people who believe that, okay, everybody is fake. If I already have like a bias that everybody who tries to befriend me is already going to leave me, is already going to abandon me due to past instances, due to pain, whatever, any type of significant other that I receive is going to cheat on me, is going to do whatever, is going to somehow do me wrong. If I have this already bias in my head, then it's going to literally, even if that wasn't really how destiny was planning to pan out, it's going to happen, because that's where the self-fulfilling prophecy comes into play, because my thoughts influence my actions. And so me thinking that will influence my actions to then cause that to happen. So, and then that's what we call confirmation bias bleeding into a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm believing that, me and Nicholas, Nick is fake. I already know that Nick is gonna he's gonna abandon me one day. I already know that Nick is not gonna really be my friend for the long term. And I just keep this in mind. And so because of those thoughts, I'm guarding myself and I'm keeping myself from being vulnerable with him, which you cannot really have a close and long-lasting connection without vulnerability. But what's keeping me from being vulnerable is my belief that if I become vulnerable to him, that he's going to take it for granted and leave, which could be true. It could actually happen that way, and it does happen that way sometimes. But in my opinion, if you can learn to kind of have that confirmation or that bias, but then not let it bleed into your actions, it's almost like allowing the person to fulfill their own prophecy. And so let me explain it in this way. If we're going back to that Nicholas example, if I believe from past experiences that, everybody's going to betray me, everybody's going to do this, everybody's going to do that, and then I start treating them as if they're already going to do that, then of course that's what they're gonna do. Eventually it'll come to a point where it's like, because they see so much of me not trusting them, it's like the girlfriend or the boyfriend who's continuously checking their significant other's phone. Like, I just know that one day you're gonna be cheating on me. I just know that one day, or you're gonna be breaking up with me. Let me see your phone. Let me see. You're not doing it right now, but just you wait. Eventually, what's that other significant other gonna do? I'm just gonna try and behave even better. No, I mean, maybe for a little bit, but eventually he or she is gonna want to leave, because it's like, you just keep on assuming these things about me wrongly. You know what? Forget it, I'm done. And then guess what that person, the original person, is gonna say? I knew it. I knew this day was gonna come. This is exactly why I didn't allow myself to trust you to begin with, because I knew that you were gonna become like that. Technically, they're right. They knew that this was gonna happen, but would it have still happened if they didn't know that was gonna happen? Maybe. Or maybe if they treated the person as if that wasn't going to happen, that probably wouldn't have happened, even if it was going to happen. Follow with me here. So it's almost like what I said for my New Year's resolution video. I'm just really realizing how the way that we treat people can really influence their journey, their path, their destiny, especially in our own lives. And so it's okay to have certain thoughts, certain biases. Sometimes it's even inevitable. It's good to want to protect yourself in a certain way, but just know that there's also consequences from holding on to that. So I think that one thing that I find interesting, and this isn't to say that it's like always the case with only these types or anything, but I guess it's a pattern that's been realized. If you watch the video that Michael Pierce did on the quadras, one thing that I just found hilarious, and I guess I'm kind of like giving away my/our secrets, was something that when he talked about the beta quadra, which is made up of the NFJs and STPs because they share the same functions. One of the examples that he gave was that they may think something in their head, but then they'll treat the person as if they're not thinking that in their head. Now, a lot of people, such as deltas, for example, will think, oh, well, that's being fake, you know? And I've seen this like with myself as well. But I feel like and Jamila also like says, like, she used to call me like fake for it and everything, but I think that she always understood that I wasn't really being fake. It just appears fake. And the reason why, I think that there's a difference between being fake and just kind of like being cordial, you know? So I, for example, can believe that I, for example, can dislike somebody, right? I can not prefer someone, but that won't mean that I will actively seek that person out and try to compliment them often. And, you know, like kind of like how you see like in TV shows with like the Mean Girls or stuff, they'll be like, oh, I really love your bag. And then as soon as the person leaves, like, oh, that bag was so ugly. Like, I'm not like that. I think that's fake because you didn't really love her bag. However, cordiality is a different thing. It's pretty much avoiding saying anything that you really don't mean. Just because I may not prefer you does not mean that I all of a sudden have to treat you in certain ways either. I cannot prefer you, but then still be kind to you because it's a principle. I'm not that attached to my own feelings that, especially as a TI user internally, I'm not that attached to my own feelings, but instead I go by my principles rather than certain values. So my principle is that regardless of how I feel about someone, regardless of what I think about someone, the baseline is I should treat them all in this manner. Not because I'm being fake, but because the way that I treat them may influence things. And so if, for example, I believe that this person's going to leave, or I believe that this person's going to do this or do that, and I treat them as if that's what they're going to do, eventually that's exactly what they're going to do. But then I will always think back like, dang, I wonder if I hadn't treated them that way, if I hadn't made it clear that this is what I believed about that person, if this would have actually happened. So I try to give people benefit of the doubt. I try to give them the opportunity to change the trajectory of their own destiny in my life. I treat them as if, once again, giving away my secrets, whatever. I treat them not in a fake way, but as if I truly do believe the best about them. And because I kind of do, I'm very open to the idea that me doing that will change how things will play out. And then in that way, it's still a self-fulfilling prophecy because now I'm believing this about that person. And so because I'm believing this about that person, the good in that person, then this is a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. This is like, okay, I believe that I will win. I believe that I will win. And I think I can. That's another self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, do these type of self-fulfilling prophecies always work? No. But I believe, and from my experience, that they tend to work a lot because if you can change the way that you think about something, if you can change the way that you perceive a situation, that'll really influence the situation. But if you approach it already thinking that you're going to lose, if you approach it already thinking that things are going to fall into shambles and stuff like that, honestly, that's the self-fulfilling prophecy right there, because then you will inhibit your mind from being able to respond to things in the way that you could have done better. But if you approach it with an optimistic mindset, if you approach it with a mindset where you are actually believing that the best will happen from this situation, I've seen it time and time again that, okay, I've also seen times where, it just didn't happen and you have to accept that. But I've seen so many times where it's like, oh, I originally believed this, but now I believe this. And because a big part of me believes this, even though I don't believe that, okay, let me make it a little bit less confusing. I believe A, which is negative about the situation. I believe that A is going to happen. However, I'm going to choose to believe B is going to happen. I'm going to make myself choose to believe that, at least partially. I'm still going to have awareness that A just might happen. But I'm not going to let A bleed into my actions, because then if A happens, I'm going to believe that my law of attraction concept brought A into that manifestation. But I could also use this concept for B. So me believing that B is going to happen and forcing myself to allow B to bleed into my actions will manifest that confirmation bias. See, I knew that B was going to happen, even though I really thought that A was going to happen. But because I made myself believe that B was going to happen, it's like a paradox. Now B actually has happened. And once again, I want to make the disclaimer that that's not always how it goes. But we should be careful of this. And then lastly, that falls into echo chambers. Once again, if you are going repeatedly to people who you already know are going to always agree with you, if you're seeking validation and stuff like that from people who are always going to agree with you and who are always going to like boost you up and everything, I think it's good to have a balance. You have to also have people who will challenge you, who will disagree with you. And I feel like that's where you'll get growth, because until you're able to literally perceive all of the perspectives there and actually like look at yourself, until you make things your own responsibility, oftentimes growth won't happen. So in my personal opinion, I do believe that, you're not responsible for, how people will take things all the time. I do believe that you're not responsible all the time, for essentially you're only responsible for what you say, not for how people receive it. However, in my personal opinion, I think that it's always best to still do as much work as you possibly can. I make it an action to try and meet people more than halfway. And that's just me. I know that other people may not have as much energy to go ahead and do that, and that's fine, I guess. But in my personal opinion, I make it a thing to try and meet people more than halfway, because I believe that at the end of the day, as long as I can always say that I've done my part, I've done everything that I possibly can to keep this from happening, I can be content. But I'm just someone who I cannot sit with myself knowing that I could have done better in a situation. I cannot sit with myself knowing that, dang, maybe if I didn't fall into this confirmation bias, this wouldn't have happened. Or if I didn't treat the person like this, I wonder what could have happened. And then I just start thinking of like alternate parallel dimensions and universes on where these actions that I now allowed to manifested what I was actually believing, in a negative aspect. So all that to say, I think that we should become aware of these thought patterns. I think that we should become aware of when we are having negative self-fulfilling prophecies. Aim for good self-fulfilling prophecies. Believe that the best will happen, even though you're aware that the worst could happen. If anything, you can protect yourself by being aware that the worst would happen, but then still act as if you believe that the best will happen. That might even change your mindset. I always thought that it was cool how they did a study where when you're talking on the phone, literally even faking a smile will create a better tone. And you guys know I'm always talking about tone awareness and stuff like that. So literally even creating a smile, like you're on the phone, people can't even see you. But if you at least fake a smile, that will literally change your mind to like create a better tone. And it's been scientifically proven to even change your mood. Now, once again, I don't know if that maybe might go like for certain types or whatever. Maybe that's a thing for FE users. I don't know. I know for me, when I listen to certain music, then my mood will like change with the music. So if I'm like in a bad headspace, then I'll go and listen to some really happy music like Frank Sinatra, or just some music like that, and I will take on the mood of the music that I'm listening to. Tori Kelly's Unbreakable Smile. I really like songs like that. I love Bobby Darin's Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Like, you just can't stay upset when you're listening to music like that. I like a lot of gospel music, stuff like that, and that literally, things that influence your mind in such ways, it really influences your actions, and it really influences your situation. Perspective really does change a lot. But you have to be not only in control of your own mind, but the more control that you have of your own mind, the more control that you'll have of your own actions. And then you'll also be able to influence the actions of others. Not in a manipulative type of way, and not in like, oh, I have control over their actions, but your actions, everything is just ripples. Your actions will ripple out and affect other people and how they will treat you. We teach other people how to treat us. And so when they see that you're taking care of your aura and you have a positive energy and you do your best to, do your best in communicating your message and meeting people more than halfway, that's all doing something for your aura. And then good things will become attracted to you. You will stay in a positive mindset. You'll form a habit of focusing on the good things, still being aware of the bad things, but then focusing on the good. But if you do the other way around, I know people who are just so fixated on the bad things that they literally cannot, their mind has formed the habit of always looking at the negative. Pessimistic people, negative people, and their auras, their energies, their faces, you can see it all over them. You can just see it. So, I think that's my spiel for today. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I finally had the time to do it today. But I want y'all's thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have fallen into self-fulfilling prophecies, either good or bad. Present some situations, some examples for other people to be able to see, confirmation biases that you may have fallen into, and give me your perspectives on echo chambers as well. You don't want to step into a place where all you're hearing is copies of your own voice. That's gonna allow you to fall into some very circular reasoning, and then it's going to also create a false victimization mindset. And I really hate false victimization. I really, really, really despise that. I cannot stand false victimization. I made a whole video about it. Those people in church who, when they hear like the preacher saying like, many of y'all have Judases in your life. I sure do. I do have enemies after me. What if you were that enemy? Have you thought about that? I do have toxic people in my life. What if you were that toxic person? You don't believe that you're that toxic person because you have like 300 people telling you that you're not? Well, not 300, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just thoughts. Just thoughts. But yeah, I think that I just wanted to, voice those thoughts, opinions, all of that to you guys, let you guys chew on that. Let me know what you guys think about it. Hopefully it'll help us have better auras, better thinking, and push out positive vibrations into the world. And the more positive ripples, the more positive vibes that we send out into the world, the better the world will be, the better society will be. That's just my opinion. Just like all of these other videos that I make, it's just my opinion. And I'm totally open to hearing dissenting voices. Don't let me fall into my own echo chamber. If you disagree, please explain it, your reasoning, and yeah, let's discuss. Let's find a middle ground. I'm totally open to those perspectives. Respectfully. That's my only thing. Let's always do it in a respectful manner. Nothing condescending, no straw man fallacies, and no ad hominems, none of those types of things. But yeah, I've talked enough now. Let me know what you think, comment, share with other people. Done.